Hi, in this video I want to show you how to use LinkedDataHub to create and edit structured content from RDF Knowledge Graphs. So what is structured content? We introduced it in LinkedDataHub version 3, and content is basically a block that can be embedded onto a document, and multiple content blocks can be arranged in a certain order by the user. And in this way, you can start building your documents, rich interactive documents from the data that you have in your data space or external linked data or Sparkle data sources. And there are two main types of content. And here I'm using our Northwind Traders demo application as an example. So the first type is HTML content, which is simply an HTML literal that gets embedded onto the page. And this is the example here. And then the second type is a bit more broad. It's called resource content. And with resource, we mean that given a URI as the content value, LinkedDataHub references the URI and retrieves whatever resource is behind it. Let's say it can be a Sparkle query or a chart, as you see in this case, or just a general linked data resource, either local or remote. And then what LinkedDataHub does is simply embeds or transcludes that resource onto the page. And that's what happens here with this chart. And as I mentioned, content can be arranged in a specific order. So right now, slot number 1 is the HTML content instance, and then at the slot number 2 we have the chart, and we can continue adding more and more content, and each of them will be at a specific position on this document. And just to keep in mind that in order to be able to see the content of a document, you have to be in content mode, not in properties mode, but in the content mode. And there are two ways to create and edit content in LinkedDataHub. And the first one is to simply click this button to switch the whole document into editing mode. And what you'll see at the top, it will be the editing form for the document itself. In this case, it's the root container. And then below, you'll see forms for the instances of content that are within this document. So this is our HTML content block, and the second one is our chart. And one thing that needs to be mentioned, that it's not enough to have content blocks in a document. They also need to be attached to the document resource using these special properties that have numbers in them. And this is done exactly to give the specific order to the content blocks. So those properties is what specify that the HTML content with this ID is this one. The HTML, it's at slot number 1, and the chart will be at slot number 2, right? And we can try adding new content, which will be at slot number 3 at the bottom of the page, right? So what we do is click this button to prepare the new slot or new property, and then we go at the bottom of the form. There's the shortcut button to add a content instance. And let's say in this case we want HTML content, but I'll show you that you can use type ahead to look up values, just like in other places where you edit resource URIs on LinkedDataHub. You can look up resources by labels. So let's say that is the chart that we have here. That's what we can how we can look it up. Or maybe we have a different chart called sales by region by year. We could do that, but in this case we want to have new HTML content. So what you can do is you can switch the types of content using this drop down and just switch from resource to HTML or back again to resource. But let's say we only want one heading called top seller, and then we'll have more content later on below that. Put some formatting on, and then this new content block, it has ID A2. So if we go back to our slot number 3, that will connect it to the document. We just click on the input here and select A2, the third. That's going to be the third content block, and then we can simply save the whole editing form. And as you can see, indeed, this HTML block appears at the bottom of the page as content number 3, right? So that was quite flexible because editing mode treats content instances just like any other RDF resource, but also a bit cumbersome, especially indicating the index of the order of the content on the document. So that's why we have introduced a bit more user-friendly content editing mode, which we call inline content editing, because it means you don't have to leave this content mode in order to edit content. You can do it all within the same layout mode and just edit it inline. And when I say inline, I mean those controls here at the bottom of the content list, buttons to create resource and HTML content respectively, as well as editing buttons on every content block. In the top right, you'll see those editing blocks here. And you need to be aware that the authenticated agent needs to have write access to this document in order to be able to use this mode. Otherwise, if the agent doesn't have sufficient access, those controls will not be visible on the page. So first thing we can do is to try editing some content. Let's say we want to switch this chart from the top selling products to sales regions by year, which is another chart we have. So sales by region by year, I'm sorry. And we just use the typo head, typed in the label, selected the value, and we just click the save button, and we updated the chart, or rather we updated the resource content and changed its URI value to a different chart. So now we see a different chart. Okay. And I can also show you how to add content. So let's say we want to show our top seller at the bottom of the page. So add one more block of content. So I click this resource button, and using this drop down, just like in full editing mode, you can switch between resource and HTML content types, right? But in this case, let's say I want Fuller, which is the top seller in Northwind Traders, and I'll just embed him as a linked data resource. So I've selected him, and now I click save, and now his person profile, person properties appear here. And that's it. We added new resource content. And there is more. Maybe we want to delete some content. Let's say we don't want this heading after all. So if you click edit, you can change the HTML, of course, update HTML, click the save button, and the content is updated. But maybe we want to remove this block altogether. So we can just click the delete button here, and that block of content is gone. So let's see what else we can do. If I click edit on resource content, maybe I don't want to make any changes. I can just click cancel. And we go back to content mode. Or maybe if I click edit, there's this third drop down here only for resource content that allows us to change the layout mode only for this block, right? So let's see how Fuller would look in graph mode, and let's save it. Right, so we changed the mode for this block of resource content and this block only. So this was a quick walkthrough through creation and editing of structured content in LinkedDataHub using both the full editing, document editing mode and the inline content editing mode, which I think is rather flexible and quite unique for knowledge graph systems. So we hope that you will give it a try and create some interesting content from your knowledge graph data. Thanks for watching.